All right, welcome everybody. I'm going to fix this feedback and then we'll be ready to go. Oh, thank you. Before we officially start the meeting, a couple quick public service announcements. For an emergency, please note the exits on either side of the chambers and proceed down the stairs. Bathrooms are located out the door to my left, women's room to the right, men's room to the left. We allow 30 minutes for public speaking. If you have not done so, please sign up at the podium. After the unfortunate incident during our June council meeting, I have requested that the laws and rules consider some proposals moving forward to hopefully avoid another similar situation. Deliberations and discussion by the committee remain pending. Therefore, we will not allow Zoom public comment tonight. If you would like to address the council, it must be in person or through written comments. Please note that the council has rules of decorum for our meetings, including the public speaking portion. We ask that respect be shown to all, whether they serve on the council, the staff, or are here as public members. As noted on the signage, we do not allow weapons of any sort, signs mounted on wood, metal, or similar material, or signs larger than 19 by 24. Not only are we here tonight to listen to the voices of the public, but we are also here to run government proceedings. To best serve us all, we cannot have any distractions. When a speaker is addressing the council, no disruptions are permitted. This includes talking over, yelling, and clapping. When this body proceeds with the day's business, we also need to have no disruptions. As per open meeting law, section 103, interruption of a speaker or government proceedings will not be tolerated. After one warning, anyone interrupting a speaker or the proceedings will be asked to be removed from chambers. I'm now calling this Common Council meeting to order at 7:36 p.m. on August 6th, 2024. If you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. May I please have roll call?
Alderman Pasty,
Here.
Alderman Tierney,
Here.
Alderman Scott Childress,
Present.
Alderman Edwards,
Here.
Alderman Mickens,
Here.
Alderman Dennison,
Excused.
Alderman Andrews,
Here.
Alderman Shabbat,
Here.
Alderman Hirsch.
Here. We have a quorum. Can I have a motion to dispense with the minutes of the previous
Motion.
meeting and approve same? Motion by Steve Shabbat, second by Drew Andrews. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is adopted 8-0. Can I have a motion to dispense with the reading of the general bills? Motion by Michelle Hirsch, second by Steve Shabbat. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is adopted 8-0. As council members, we get the opportunity to meet folks from throughout the city and from all walks of life. Throughout our service on the council, we meet community members who genuinely move us with their kindness and efforts to improve our community. Tonight, we recognize and honor two individuals who have gone above and beyond to serve and help others with the Common Council Community Award. We are delighted to present Jeff Lau and Joe McDowell with the award this month. They were selected by Alderwoman Jeannie Edwards, and at this time, I invite them both to join Jeannie at the podium.
I'd just like to show my gratitude to these two wonderful men in construction and in plumbing. We had an incident a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, in Ward 4, and a woman and her adult children, their house was posted, and there was cracked furnaces, and it was in the middle of the winter time. Every disaster you could think happened. The house was all paid off, though. The taxes were up to date. So I reached out to my friend Joe here, and then he reached out to Jeff, who Jeff is not here tonight, he's in Florida, but this is John representing Jeff Lau's company. When I tell you they went into this house and they redid the whole house, new kitchen, sanded floors, new plumbing, And not only that, went back in the garage and helped them clean the garage out. Really helped in a situation that was very bad. So I'm giving these certificates, but what they have shown was community, 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 respect, dedication, and what community is supposed to do for one another. This family did not have a lot of money. So why would we keep someone homeless or leave them out when there's a perfectly decent structural house there? And they stepped up. When I tell you that Jeff Lau put at least $35,000 into this house, the mother ended up in the hospital. The kids were homeless. I'm talking about kids, they're adult children. And they went in and they worked in the cold because there was no heat in the house. They worked on the worst days possible. Was it about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago? And it was so cold that winter. And the two adult children were sleeping in a car. And Joe went and got them a hotel room for a couple of nights, I think almost a week, I'm not sure. It was amazing how this team really worked together. What they did in the community, they brought back respect. And they really showed what community, taking care of community is. And we could all do it if we just reach out. And they were so humble about it. And I just have a lot of gratitude towards them. So Joe, thank you so much for the work that you did with the construction, brand new kitchen, sanding the floors, fixing insulation in the ceilings. And it really touched my heart, and it touched the heart of the neighbors in Ward 4. There's hope in humanity. So would you like to say anything, John?
Very humble. Again, I know I was here last month, and I'm here again. The reason why I'm here again is because we have a rich heart, and it's not about money. It's about being rich at heart and helping somebody who's hurting, who needs help. And as a community, if we can continue to work as a team, things could happen. If you can reach out to a friend or anybody in the community, you can make things happen. Keep the faith. Be strong. Be as one. It doesn't matter who it is. There's help, and if you reach out and put your hand out, you can always help somebody. Somebody can always help you also, and we can also always make this community a better community without conflict and controversy. And you can see that if each one teaches someone something positive, we can learn from each other. And it wasn't about just me. It wasn't about just Jeff. It was about us working together and his employees, John, Clee. Can you stand up, please? And I know this is not just about me, but if it wasn't for Clee, who helped me to teach the youth in the community to do right and to do better in the community and to give back to the community, it wasn't just me. It was my team. It was us. So, Clee, I want to say thank you personally, and to your wife who put up with you for working late with me those cold nights. But thank you, and I honestly appreciate you, man. I really do, and the rest of the team and council. We appreciate you also. Let's continue to work together and make this community a better community. Sometimes we have to put the differences aside and think about the future and what the legacy that we have to leave for the future of the city. I appreciate everybody.
So, John, I hope you accept this for Laos. The work that you guys put in really touched my heart. I've never seen such, since I was a little girl, I've never seen such dedication to get a family back into their home. you know, and not just let them go homeless or put them in hotels or anything. You know, between taking care of each other, Jeff Salau's team was extended so much. And I just appreciate you. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Joe, you're a tough act to follow. I don't know what more I could possibly say, but thank you very much. Thank you, council. I'm very, very appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So,
We're now entering into the public speaking portion of the meeting. We have allotted 30 minutes for this purpose. Speakers will have 3 minutes. Please be aware that I will give a verbal 30-second warning. If there are remaining speakers after 30 minutes, I will call for a motion from the council to extend the period for another 30 minutes. Speakers, direct your comments to the chair, as council members cannot engage in debate during this time. Please state your name and address on the record before you begin. There can be no distractions from the audience and chambers when a speaker addresses the council. The council has also received written comments for our consideration, and they could be found on the city's website under tonight's agenda. May I have the first speaker, please?
Philip Guerreri.
Philip Guerreri, 28 Dietz Court, Kingston. First, I want to thank you folks for the tenant protections, and 2, for repairing the Pike plan. I remember when they came here from Japan to view that Pike plan when it was new. Now, Resolution 120. The chief of police about a month ago asked for cameras at the school crossings because people were not slowing down. I read that in the Freeman. Then a few days later, there was an article in the Freeman how 150 tickets were given out. And I don't know whether it had to do directly with the cameras. I'm here to talk about, excuse the vernacular, the lice amongst police. We have possibility of a coup of our government in November. That's neither here nor there. But the next article in the Freeman was that the police were requesting to have cameras throughout the city. My research in World War I and World War II Germany is extensive. All those corporations were home-based in the U.S. District of Corporatism. We need an economy. We need a green economy. We need green commitments because the federal government can't do it. Everyone's obligated to corporatism. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Joy McCain.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joy McVeigh, and 122 Clinton Avenue. I am the pastor of Clinton Avenue United Methodist in Ward 4, and I'm here this evening with Cynthia Rodriguez and Emma Jean Taylor from our church community. And we're here first and foremost to thank the Common Council for just your ongoing support and interest in Ward 4. You know, where we work and serve and live. I've been the pastor there for 6 years now. It's hard to believe. And I'm just always bowled over every day by the diversity and you know what I'm talking about. I see you smiling. The diversity and the resilience and the strength and the energy in that ward. It is outstanding. I mean, where would Kingston be without it? I mean, really. So I want to say thank you for your ongoing support, every one of you, and your ongoing interest in the lives and businesses, economy, problems, issues of Ward 4. And secondly, I want to say thank you so much, because I understand that you're going to be approving a name change of the little park in our ward, changing the name to reflect the name of the little girl that was killed so tragically, murdered 3 years ago in our ward. We think that's a wonderful thing, and that's a wonderful decision. And just, we applaud you for doing that. I mean, certainly because no one wants to see that child's name forgotten, right? But the other thing is, I was thinking this morning, you know, it's not just about remembering the little girl. It's also reminding ourselves when we see that park and hear that child's name, reminding ourselves that we need to be a peaceful and nonviolent community. I mean, that's what we're on this planet for, right? To be peaceful and nonviolent. And so I think making that name change, it honors and remembers that little girl, but it also, I think, will be a real reminder for us. We need to remember that. And, you know, friends, in
30
the
seconds.
days and times in which we live, we need that reminder every day. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Rose Quinn.
Hello, my name is Rose Quinn, Ward 2, Down Street. Good evening, members of the Common Council. I'm here tonight to express my unwavering support for Resolution 130 of 2024, which proposes to reduce Kingston's speed limit from 30 to 25 miles an hour. This is not merely a numerical adjustment. It is a critical step towards safeguarding our community and ensuring the safety of all on our streets for future generations. Our city has long been constrained by outdated regulations that fail to reflect the current understanding of road safety. With rising fatality rates and evidence mounting that speed is linked to traffic violence, it is clear that we must rethink these outdated policies. The tragic fact is that since 2020 in Kingston, we have seen 4 bike and pedestrian fatalities, each one a stark reminder of the urgent need for change. The New York State Comptroller, Thomas DiNapoli, recently released a report that underscores the vital importance of speed policy in saving lives. The report reveals that reducing speed limits is one of the most effective strategies to prevent traffic-related injuries and fatalities. It is backed by extensive research showing that lower speeds lead to fewer accidents and less injuries. In 2022, Governor Hochul signed A 1007 AS, a law allowing municipalities to reduce speed from 20 to 30 miles per hour. This law aimed to facilitate these changes through a common sense, low cost measure that should have been very easy to implement. However, it was met with significant hurdles due to the ambiguous language and bureaucratic obstacles added by the New York State Department of Transportation. Through my work with Families for Safe Streets, I have highlighted these issues. We began working with stakeholders from around the state with the New York State Safe Streets Coalition. And with them, we sent a letter to New York State DOT officials asking for redress. Despite our collective efforts and signatures from over 100 elected officials throughout the state, including the mayor of Kingston, Steve Noble, the county executive, Jen Metzger, and several of you on this council, DOT has yet to respond. I
30
want to
seconds.
extend my deepest gratitude. Oh, hold on. Progress has been made, however, in 2023, revisions to the MUTCD exposed vulnerabilities in the previous regulations, allowing us to overcome many of these barriers. This is a call to action, and your leadership moving forward is critical now more than ever. I want to extend my deepest gratitude to alderpersons Hirsch, Patsy, Schultz, and Tierney for their
Thank you.
dedication and
Rose, your time is
understanding
up.
and
Thank
addressing
you.
these complexities.
Thank you.
I also
Time's
want
up.
to thank Mayor Noble, and I want to
Thank
thank
you.
the
Thank you.
Public Safety Committee. Thank you very much.
Next speaker, please.
Courtney Wilder.
Good evening. My name is Courtney Wilder, and actually I live in Stone Ridge, but I work in Kingston, and many members of my family live in Kingston. Kingston is my city. First, quickly, just want to thank certain members of the council for passing the ceasefire resolution in Palestine. Despite it being very watered down, I'm still glad about it, and I'm very proud of all of the hard work that my friends and community members did to push this resolution forward. And I'm also very grateful for you all for passing good cause eviction. I'm here tonight to ask that you do not pass a resolution to spend $1.15 million on police surveillance in Kingston. I realize that you as the council don't have the option to necessarily decide what to do with this money, but on principle, I think having access to this enormous funds and approving to spend it on police surveillance is gross. There's no mention of where these cameras are actually going. And furthermore, in the Daily Freeman, I read that the police chief is quoted as admitting he's not even sure if these cameras help stop people from doing crime. It's a slap in the face to see the city be awarded a large sum of money specifically for this purpose, when in the meantime, as Alderman Edwards stated at the last meeting, there are many people in Kingston unhoused, sleeping on benches, and families without food. And on that note, I have been waiting a month to correct something that was said at last month's meeting by Alderman Edwards, that those of us using our energy to fight for a ceasefire in Gaza were not also using our energy to fight for our community and things going on, quote, in our own backyards. I'm sorry, but you couldn't be more wrong about that. You know, these community members are tirelessly marching in the streets against racism and police brutality. We are filling community fridges with food and working to fight for housing for everybody. And sorry, I lost my place, but one of the many common threads between all of these battles is that we are fighting against this notion that there isn't enough money to take care of people, when actually there is plenty of money, but it is used to fund genocide and the police and spying on people. And I think that you as the council have proven that maybe you even have the moral compass and the conscience to call out the rest of the state of New York on that hypocrisy. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Sam Goldberg, and please state your address for the record.
Hi, my name is Sam Goldberg. I will not state my address for the record. I live in just outside of Ward 1. I live in the town of Ulster. This is where I've worked at different points in time. This is where all my friends are. I'll just jump right to that. So the reason I'm not going to say my address in this public forum where it will be broadcast on YouTube is because it's not safe to ask people to do that. It's not a safe thing to do here. You should look into in a neo-Nazi organization called the Goyim Defense League, and a subset of that, which is called the City Council Death Squad. This is very likely to be the people who attacked via Zoom this city council meeting that caused that. Their tactics match exactly. They have a nationwide campaign to do things exactly like that. It's simply irresponsible, in my view, for me to say my home address when there are bad actors who we know are watching on YouTube. So just to get that out of the way. My purpose in being here, though, is to say, please don't pass the resolution giving $1.1 million of grant money to the police for surveillance equipment. You simply aren't going to be able to hear from enough of the community, from community members who have an issue with policing as it exists, who don't trust the police or fearful of the police. There are armed police officers in this room right now. In order to engage meaningfully in this process, which is like these physical meetings, you have to be around armed cops. If you can really earnestly tell me that that doesn't have a chilling effect on a debate that is directly pertaining to how we view policing and how we do community safety here, please, I'm welcome, all ears. Yeah, so the question really is like, how do we want to engage in making our community safer? How do we keep each other safe? And so I'm asking you to engage seriously with the idea that there are alternatives to just giving money to the cops, to just using the carceral system to do this. Marginalized communities, protest movements, know
30
that they can't
seconds.
trust the police. And so they have developed alternative ways of doing it, de-escalation tactics. Instead of having armed police here and presumably paying them money, you could take that money and you could train community de-escalators. You could build a roster of people who are here. And if you want, if it's so severe, as I guess it was when we had one person last time who broke decorum and spoke when it wasn't their time, that they need to be removed from the chamber, you should do it. You should be the ones to do it. If you really think that that's that important, you're not getting your business done anyway.
Thank you. Your
Go
time
and
is
speak to
up.
them. You're some of the
Thank
people
you.
who know people best in this community.
Thank you.
Learn these skills.
Next speaker, please.
C. Villalba, please state your name for the record.
Hi, CV Alba, Ward 1. Thank you to the council members who actually listened to the hundreds of constituents who came out in support of humane foreign and domestic policy. A special thank you to Alders Hirsch, Mickens, Andrews, and Tierney, who voted in favor of the ceasefire resolution last month with outspoken support. May you all continue to realize how close to home the evils of imperialism are as American soldiers are literally deployed to the Middle East. Now I'm here to demand of you, our elected civil servants, more sound policy, less manufactured consent for fascism. Regarding the grant for 40 additional cameras in the city, have a few questions. Where are the street level cameras going? What data analysis are you using to place the cameras? How will you prevent cameras from being overrepresented in majority low income and Black and brown neighborhoods in the city? How is the camera and surveillance information going to be used? Which law enforcement agencies will have access to it? Will ICE? Please name who exactly will be able to surveil unsuspecting civilians. Why are you choosing to resort to surveillance infrastructure like cameras that will need millions in maintenance in the long run instead of being more frugal with public dollars and implementing speed bumps, lower speed limits, and actual infrastructure, not paint, to protect pedestrians and cyclists? Infrastructure that is proven to be effective and proactive in reducing traffic violence. Will you inform residents in the areas new traffic cameras are being placed that they're there? Do you have all the answers to these questions? On the proposed resolution for clean water on Native American reservations, I understand this is not on the agenda right now, but I was following along. I completely support it. I support the spirit of it, but it needs more. Name the Lenape, Munsee, Mohawk, and Haudenosaunee people whose lands were settled on. Invite the people of these First Nations to the table. Do not act as a unilateral mouthpiece for Native Americans because they are not a monolith. Additionally, a more actionable resolution would include a clause that pledges a percentage of city revenue to the Native peoples whose lands we occupy. It's the least a city like Kingston could do as it celebrates the genocide of Native people here every year with distasteful war reenactments. On the grant application process in general, dedicate at least the same amount of time, energy, and labor spent on applying to police fund grants, on proactive initiatives to reduce houselessness and housing
30
insecurity
seconds.
that is often a large factor in mental health crises. Finally, actually listen to your constituents when they talk to you. It's evident that some of you don't, like when the Ward 4 Alder grandstanded at us all last month. Don't lie and say that engaged community members are concerned with one issue when there's video evidence of those same folks coming out to speak in favor of housing the houseless, feeding the hungry, etc. Listen to your constituents. Do not repeat the behavior of the Ward 3 alder who told a community member months ago that Kingston would
Thank
never
you. Your
consider a
time is
ceasefire
up.
resolution. You may end up eating your words. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Next speaker. That's all we have signed up. Is there anybody else in chambers who would like to speak? Tanya? Oh, we only allow you to speak once. Yes.
Hi, my name is Tanya Garment, 102 Wirt Street, Kingston, New York. I thank you. I want to first thank a lot of the commenters for really important points, among them considering whether we should be saying our address and how we look at grant-funded projects. I wanted to also thank members of the public for bringing up the surveillance cameras. We are looking at the speed cameras, as you know, for school zones have been approved, and they're an important way of doing enforcement, which in Kingston we rely on way too heavily. Street design is a great example of where we forget the common sense approaches and go right to enforcement. But speed cameras, we saw that it's getting bunched in with the surveillance cameras, and that's a real issue because the speed cameras are how we should be ticketing. But we do have to really look at it. Where is that funding going to go to? Is it going to go back into the street or our general fund? Are we going to use it as a source of income, which we shouldn't? We need to make sure this is an equitable rollout, but speed cameras are a much better alternative to the usual traffic stops, which are really just an excuse to stop and frisk and invade people's privacy. So I think that the school zone cameras, you need to be doing education about what those are, but really thinking about how to roll those out. Thank you very much for the 25 mile an hour, way too long coming area speed limit. I want to point out the street design standards, which so far have been largely ignored by the city, but they're part of our new 4-base code. And one example of why this speed limit will be a good thing is so that we will go along with what our street design is supposed to be. You all should have by now looked at the 4-base code. I'd like you to please take a close look at the street design standards and the charts there and what's where. One thing to keep in mind is our speed feedback cameras are not appropriate in all neighborhoods, and we have a chart that says where they're appropriate. One example of late where they're problematic is they're placed right now. There's one on Foxhall Avenue, right before where the bars are. So you're about to go over the tracks, coming back towards Broadway, and there's a
30 seconds.
feedback camera that tells you you could be going 30 miles an hour. That's basically what it does. When you really shouldn't be going, because you're about to hit the railroad tracks, and then you're going to go through where there are 2 bars. So speed feedback cameras are not a panacea. And we need to do better with the street design and really knowing what is supposed to go where. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Hearing no one else, I will close the public speaking portion of the meeting. We now enter into claims and communications. Hearing no discussion, they will be on file in the clerk's office. Can I get a motion to dispense with the second reading of the general bills and pay same? Motion by Rennie Scott Childress, second by Sarah Pasty. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is adopted 8-0. We're now moving into the report of committees, starting with resolution number 119, please.
Resolution 119 of 2024. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing a 2024 transfer in the amount of $75,000 in the Health and Wellness Department to cover the expense of conference opportunities for the department's staff.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 120, please.
Resolution 120 of 2024. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing a 2024 transfer in the Police Department in the amount of $1,149,000 of grant monies received as part of the New York State DCJS Technology Grant 2024-2025.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, passes. Resolution is adopted 6-2. The two votes were Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch and Alderman Michael Tierney. Moving to resolution number 121, please.
Resolution 121 of 2024, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing a 2024 transfer in the Police Department in the amount of $4,986 of grant money received from the Office of Justice Programs Bulletproof Vest Partnership.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 122, please.
Resolution 122 of 2024, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the mayor to expend funds in the first instance related to the USDA Forest Service grant awarded for the addition of an urban forester position.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 123, please.
Resolution 123 of 2024, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for modifications to the 2024 Planning Department budget.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 124, please.
Resolution 124 of 2024. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement and any and all related documents with New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation and expend funds in the first instance for a conditions study and improvements to the Roundout Lighthouse.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 125, please.
Resolution 125 of 2024, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for modifications to the 2024 Kingston Fire Department budget.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 126, please.
Resolution 126 of 2024, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement and any and all related documents with Dormitory Authority of New York State and to expend funds in the first instance for the purchase of a fire rescue boat.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 127, please.
Resolution 127 of 2024, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, recommending approval for modifications to the 2024 Kingston Fire Department budget.
On the question, Alderman Renee Scott Childress.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to say in general, I'm proud of the number of resolutions we have in this month's docket supporting the work of our police department and our fire department. We've seen our fire department begin to expand in a number of ways. We've seen the excellent work that they've done. We've seen the excellent work of our police department because we know that they get training far and above the training of most places, even in this area, New York State, certainly way above some of the other states where we've heard of egregious actions going on. I'd like to say that when we are thinking about these issues, our first concern is with our first responders to make sure that they're protected, to make sure that they can do their work adequately and at a superior level. I want to say, too, that we want to be able to extend to them the tools that help them take care of people in distress as well as fight crime. The cameras that we're talking about are just another tool to fight crime. Anybody who's worried about surveillance, you should not have one of these things. If you're worried about surveillance, get offline. I'm speaking to the resolution in a general sense because it is about taking care of our fire department and our police department and the other resolutions that we've seen. So I just want to say that I appreciate the work that they're doing, and I will continue to support them in every way that I can.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing no other discussion, I will call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 128, please.
Resolution 128 of 2024, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing a 2024 transfer in the City Clerk's Department to balance accounts.
On the question, hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 129, please.
Resolution 129 of 2024, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing a 2024 transfer in accordance with the city's adopted fund balance policy to utilize $1,593,648 of fund balance in the general fund for the purposes of financing equipment and vehicles for which department has been authorized but not issued, and to pay off existing short-term debt.
On the question, Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
On this particular resolution, I rise to thank our comptroller, John Toohey, who's been an excellent guide for us over the years. We just heard in the news lately of another city that's been in deep trouble because of the financial mess that they're in. This is an example of how John Toohey has worked very carefully with us to find ways to reduce what we spend and to help us understand at a deep level the consequences of our actions. So thanks to John Toohey, I'm in favor of this resolution.
Anyone else? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 130, please.
Resolution 130 of 2024, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing a 2024 transfer in the amount of $15,600 in the Comptroller's Department to reconcile accounts on a year-to-date basis.
On the question, hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 131, please.
Resolution 131 of 2024, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the transfer of 168 Fairview Avenue, SBL 48.312-5-10 to Hernan Mara.
On the question, hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 132, please.
Resolution 132 of 2024, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, affirming the attached Ulster County resolution related to the sales tax sharing agreement.
On the question, hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 133, please.
Resolution 133 of 2024, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the renaming of Van Buren Playground in memory of DeGenera to DeGenera Mason Memorial Playground.
On the question, hearing no discussion, I will call. Would you like to say Alderwoman Jeannie Edwards?
I'd just like to thank the council members for really lining up with this. It means a lot to the people of Ward 4 for, this has been a heartache for them, and each one of you has played a part in this, for this to happen, to memorize DJ. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Alderman Drew Andrews?
I just want to thank Jeannie Edwards for leading the way that she does and listening to the voices of the people in our community. We suffered a grave tragedy when DJ passed away, was murdered, and Jeannie is leading by listening and action. So thank you, Jeannie.
Thank you, Drew. Anyone else? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution passes 8-0. Moving to resolution number 134, please.
Resolution 134 of 2024, Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, editing a policy for disposition of surplus city-owned property to include properties acquired via Article 19A.
On the question? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution number 135, please.
Resolution 135 of 2024. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing a $1.2 million bond for restoration of the historic facade in the Stockade District.
On the question, Alderman Michael Tierney.
Thank you. First, I want to talk about how there has been a lack of public process through this. This is a historic icon of our city. This is what defines Uptown Kingston, is the Pike Plan. It is what tourists from all over the world come to Kingston to see, to walk under, to experience, as well as people from our neighborhood who use it when it's raining to walk to Hannaford or to the gym or to the plaza. This is such an important piece of pedestrian infrastructure. It is cooler in there during the summer than it is outside. That is something that we should be increasingly worried about as we address climate change. It is a place where you can take shelter from the rain as our world gets wetter and rains more frequently in intensity. This is part of the culture of our city, and to get rid of it and to call it the restoration of the facade is horrific. This is on the level of taking down the old post office or taking down the original Penn Station or the original Madison Square Garden. This is the kind of thing. We don't get to decide when history stopped existing. History has always and will continue to exist, and this is a historic structure. And there has been zero public input, zero public meetings about this. We're going to vote to send it back to committee, not to hire a consultant, even though we hire consultants to do everything else in this city. We govern by consultant. We're not hiring a consultant to say whether or not this is a good idea, to take it down, to repair it, or to replace it. We're going to hire a consultant to walk us through how to destroy this in the least environmentally destructive way. That is what we are sending this back on. I will make a motion to send this back to committee, not because I support this, but because I think every second that we take a break and figure out what we need to do and hear from the public is an advantage in saving this important historic structure, which the fact that we need to do this just highlights how little thought has actually gone into this. That we suddenly in the 11th hour should get a secret determination, that's obscene to me, that this has not been considered. That's how predetermined this process has been from the beginning, that this administration is committed to tearing this down. And obviously Steve will agree with me, but I think that's a disaster for our city, a disaster for the culture of Uptown Kingston, a horrible thing for our tourism industry, for our business owners, as well as for the people like me who are not a business owner, who just walk down it every single day because that is how they get to work. Thank you. Again, the motion is to refer it back to the Finance Committee.
There's a motion on the floor to refer it. Is there a second? Second by Terrell Mickens. Any discussion on the motion?
Well, I'm a little bit confused because we heard a long discussion here about the merits of the general idea of replacing the Pike, taking the Pike Plan down, which was not specific to the motion. So can we speak to just the motion, or can we respond to the comments that were made?
Sure, we could open the floor.
Thank you. I understand some of the frustration that Michael is expressing. I know too that it can be difficult to remove something. I like his point about history as far as it goes. If you talk to some people about the history of Uptown, you would hear that in fact the Pike Plan covered up a lot of our history. It altered the history that was there before. This is a consistent process of cities, and these are some of the tough decisions that we have to make. We're not making this decision lightly. we are looking at the problems that are related to the renovation, the reconstruction of this several years ago. We're seeing that the Pike Plan, before it should have been, if this had been done well, it should not have reached the end of its useful life like it has now. I'm totally in favor of looking at other possibilities once we take this one down. I think that given the state that it's in, we have no other choice. So I look forward to a very robust public process to look into what we want to see afterwards. I think we could probably improve on what's there now, and I look forward very much to looking at all the possibilities and perhaps hiring a consultant or at least some sort of firm that would help us to look at ideas, look at possibilities, and engage the public in a wide process for what comes after.
Would anybody else like to speak? Michael Tierney?
I think that my colleague from the third ward made a lot of important points about what happens after the discussion that we want to have. That's not what this resolution does. This resolution is just about destruction. There is no day after on this resolution. This is to take down the Pike Plan and to cover up whatever damage incurs in taking down the Pike Plan. There is no plan in here for the day after. There is no, we are committing to something, and I would love to believe that we all are committed to a process that talks about the day after. But how can we take it down without already having that conversation on what happens on the day after? That is bad governance, it's bad policy, and it's kicking the can. It's kicking the can because I think in 6 months, this is, the mayor is committed to taking this down in January 2025 after the Christmas season, which is very generous of him. But this is, if we have this conversation in February, if we have this conversation a year from now, 2 years from now, I think that's going to be, the fact that it's already down is going to play part of that conversation. Say, why are we going to pay to put something back up? I think that if we do not commit ourselves in this resolution to at least putting out an RFP, to at least putting out a design contest, to stating our values, our shared values before we proceed with action, I think that that is a huge disservice to the residents of the city of Kingston, to historic preservation, and to the business community that rely on the tourism dollars generated because of the Pike Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And I presume your motion still stands to send back. And I presume the second still stands. Any discussion on the motion? If not, I will call for the vote. All in favor for this to be sent back to finance? Opposed? Motion or the resolution is sent back to finance. Thank you all very much. Moving to resolution number 136, please.
Resolution 136 of 2024, a memorializing resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, calling for the expansion of the New York State Homes and Community Renewal, HCR, to create a tenant protection unit, TPU, in the Hudson Valley.
On the question, Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch.
Thank you, Madam President. As the author of this resolution, I am requesting that it make a motion to request that it be sent back to committee. Thank you.
There's a motion to send this back to committee. Is there a second? Second by Sarah Pasty. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll call for the vote for this to be sent back to Laws and Rules. Community Development Housing. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution 136 will be sent back to Community Development and Housing. Moving to resolution number 137, please.
Resolution 137 of 2024, an ordinance amending an ordinance in relation to the traffic on the public streets of the City of Kingston, New York, adding various changes to vehicle and traffic.
On the question, Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
Just briefly, I would like to thank John Schulteis for all the work that he's put into this. John's been doing a lot of work. We hear what our constituents are saying about redesigning, rethinking. We're doing a lot of work along these lines. Unfortunately, some of this work redesigning streets can get very expensive, but I think that we are committed to doing all that we can to try to improve the safety of our streets. And I think that a number of the changes he's talking about here will help, but especially the next resolution. So I am in favor of this one.
Thank you. I'm sorry for my hesitation. I switched the two resolutions in my head and was very confused for a second there. Anyone else on the question? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to resolution 138 now, please.
Resolution 138 of 2024, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, amending Section 390-52A, speed regulations, Schedule 12, speed limits to reflect 25-mile-per-hour speed limits citywide with exceptions.
On the question, Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
Thank you. I am so glad to see this finally coming to fruition. One of the first things I did upon becoming an alderperson was look into the possibility of reducing our speed limits. I can't begin to tell you the amount of frustration I experienced trying to find out, going to meetings of New York State traffic designers, New York State Department of Transportation officials, talking to various people, trying to understand whether we could or could not. Finally, about 2 years ago, Governor Hochul signed a bill allowing us to. I immediately put in a resolution to try to call for reducing our speed limits. But as one of our speakers tonight noted, there were some roadblocks, shall we say, put in the way of an easy process here. I'm glad again that John Schulteis has done the work to look into this to make this possible, and I am very much in favor of Resolution 138.
Thank you. Anyone else on the question? Alderman Michael Tierney.
Yes, thank you. And in addition to thanking John and as well as Rennie and Bob, who have done a lot of the legwork for this, I think a lot of this wouldn't happen without people like Rose, people like Tanya, who have consistently spoken with us, advocated, gone to these conferences to bring the latest information to us. So I just really do want to thank Rose and Tanya for their hard and diligent and ceaseless work to make sure this happened. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is adopted 8-0. Moving to the second reading of local law number 7.
Local Law 7 of 2024 of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, adopting the 421-P property tax exemption for the creation of new eligible housing units.
On the question, Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch.
Thank you, Madam President. I just would like to lend my support to this local law, which would create a tax exemption for buildings to have 25% of the units be affordable, lower income housing of a 60 to 80% AMI. So I'd just like to say that I'm in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing no further discussion, I will call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Local Law 7 is adopted 8-0. That concludes our communications for the month. Before we adjourn, I actually have one, and then I'll open it up to the floor. I'd like to close tonight's meeting in memory of Kay Wojo or Kay Voicho, depending on what part of the family. The name was pronounced slightly different. Kay was a longtime resident of Kingston and my aunt. Together with her husband of over 40 years, they ran the General Neighborhood Store in Eddyville near the bridge. Kay also spent many, many years working for the Kingston City Schools lunch program. She was no doubt one of the hardest workers I have ever known, with an abundance of energy and a love for all she served, and worked well into her late years of life because she loved it so much. She never wanted to stop. Kay was truly a good person in a world which to me seems such a trait that is a rarity. and she leaves behind a family that will mourn her deeply, including my cousins, Serena and Jamal, Sybil and Dan, and Sonia and Matt. Losing the woman who raised you with fierce love is a pain like no other, and I send my deep condolences to my cousins and the rest of my family. Thank you. Anyone else? Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
Thank you. I have two, actually. The first is for Marilyn Jean Peterson, who was 91 years old, who died on July 4th, 2024. She was a resident of Twin Ponds for many years. She was originally born in Vinton, Iowa, and had the good sense to move east to Kingston. She spent most of her life here as a homemaker and as a member of the United Methodist Church. She was very active there and was honored as Mother of the Year in 1975. So I know that her family will deeply miss her. The other is for Robert Schneller, who lived into his mid-90s. He had been living for a long time at Golden Hill Nursing Home. Folks who are longtime Kingstonians will know him as the proprietor of Schneller's, appropriately named, the wonderful food store there on John Street. Ironically, his son would later become a real estate agent and work in that same building where it was the office for a local real estate agency. Robert was born in Passaic, New Jersey in 1928. He was the last surviving of the 6 siblings who grew up in Pine Bush. He married Hannelore Hahn in 1950 and has 5 children, all of whom are going to miss him very much, especially the one I mentioned, Michael Schneller. Bob established Schneller's Meats in 1956 in Kingston, where it thrived for over 40 years. In his retirement, Bob operated a small but successful cheese business. During the late 1960s, he was the town supervisor of Hurley, New York. He was the announcer and producer of Schneller's German-American Hour on WGHQ radio. He was a dedicated supporter of the Hudson Valley Philharmonic and Woodstock's Turnau Opera. He also was an honorary member of the Kingston Manor Corps. Bob appreciated good food, good drink, and good conversation, especially if he was leading the conversation. He traveled to Europe, England, Jamaica, Cuba, and all over the US and Canada. An avid skier, exuberant golfer, and a passionate Giants fan. He also learned how to do surf fishing. He was an opera lover and a lifelong voracious reader with a larger-than-life personality.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just a reminder when you do these to fill out the paperwork too, so we could get our condolences sent to the family. It is in the back room, and if they're out, then you could just reach out to Kwame in the clerk's office. Hearing nothing else, I will listen for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Drew Andrews, second by Michelle Hirsch. All in favor? Opposed? We hereby stand adjourned until the next scheduled meeting, which is a changed date. It's Tuesday, September 10th, which is the second Tuesday, as all we agreed to. So that's our next meeting, September 10th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. Thank you.